Hello everyone, I'm going to just give a brief presentation on conducting a qualitative analysis using a Microsoft Word document. There are some times where you may collect data and it's not a lot of data, so you don't want to use a qualitative software like in Vivo or Atlas TI to analyze your data. So you can conduct a manual coding, especially if participant responses are not a lot and you plan not to buy a software to analyze the data. So you can do that manually. So how can you use Microsoft Word to do the analysis? There are 7 main steps that you could follow and you can do that. So this presentation will be 2 parts. First part information, and the second part is to demonstrate to you how to use the software, not the software, how to use the Microsoft Word document to analyze qualitative data. So these are the 7 steps. So as you can see here, let me make it bigger. Yeah, okay. So you can see that the first step is to assign labels to your research question, and I'm going to talk more about that. The second one is to identify relevant information from the data and then assign labels to the relevant information. And after assigning labels, you have to bring them back to the anchor code. And now I'm going to talk about the anchor code for you to understand. And also the next step is to compile all the initial list, and then you arrange them alphabetically and also group them under each under their respective anchor codes. And then you can group them and tally the frequency. The frequency is an amount of times that a code is assigned to significant information that has been identified in the data. And also the sixth step is to categorize that and the initial codes to develop categories and themes, and then move on to visualize your code categories and themes generated. So first step is to label your research questions, right? So label your research question, and then we call it the label is called anchor code, right? So an anchor code is a label assigned to a research question. The reason why you have to do that is to help you in your organization of your initial codes that you're going to develop. So in this case, when you are developing, you identify significant information. If you decide, okay, which research question this significant information is going to address, then if it's going to address research question 1 and your anchor code is initial needs, then you'll be able to drop all the significant information or the code that has been developed under those research questions that you have, right? So as I said, you have to develop an anchor code. And so for this example, what were the children initial needs? You can label this research question as initial need, right? So you're just giving a label to your research question. And this is the second one. You can see that it focuses on activities. So your research, your anchor code will be activities. So you have to label your research question. Next, what do you do, right? Using specific coding method, you identify significant information and then label those significant information from the data and bring them under the anchor codes that you have generated, right? So as you can see here, Because of time, I will not be able to go through all the coding methods, but if you click on this link and go to slide 16 and 17, it discusses all the coding method: in vivo coding, process coding, evaluative coding. So you identify the coding method that will be considered that are consistent with your research question. One example is if you are finding out participant perception about a specific program or intervention, then you can use evaluation coding. If you want to capture participant emotion, you can use emotion coding. So this PowerPoint, if you click on this link, it will take you to the PowerPoint that will explain the codes. I'll in the description of the video, I'll put the link of the whole presentation there, so that you can go there and click on this link. Okay, so the next one is to when you have your Word document open, you click on Review tab, and then you can start the coding process by using the comment option, right? So as I said, you identify significant information, you assign labels to them and group them under their respective codes, right? That's what you're going to do. So as you can see here, you've highlight or you identify significant information. So you select that significant information, and then you click on Review and go to Comment, right? And click on and start the coding process. So these are the direction on the right side. You can see step-by-step approach. How do you have to do it? So as you can see here, you identify or you select significant or relevant information that will help you to address your research question, and you click on New Comment, and then you first type the anchor code, the research question that is related, right, or aligned with the significant information. Then you you type the label for the significant information. So example that I have here is, let's say you identified this first information here, and it talks about lack of interest in an academic work, right? Based on participant responses, they talk about lack of interest. So you determine, okay, this one is focusing on initial needs, right? So you first type the anchor code, right, the label that you have given to your research question, right, and then type the the label, the code that you have generated for the significant information. As this example is sense of loneliness, isolation, and hopelessness. So you can see that this the sense of loneliness, isolation, and hopelessness is a code that comes under initial needs, which is the anchor code. You see that? I will demonstrate it to you in my second video for you to better understand. And the next one is to compile all the lists, right? You compile the list, and this is the direction of the step-by-step approach how to compile, and I'll demonstrate that to you too. So you have all the lists of codes that you have generated with their respective anchor codes, and then you arrange them alphabetically so that you'll be able to categorize the code that you have developed, right? And then under each of the research questions, so you can see that the ability is one of the research anchor code that is related to research question that focus on participant ability, right? And then these are the codes under those under this anchor code. So then the next step is to group them and tally. So you can see that previously you can see sense of confidence, sense of confidence are 2. So you delete one of them and then in parentheses you indicate 2, showing that there are 2 significant information that this node is assigned to. So that is called you tally the frequencies, right? So you can see that What happens is that when you're doing the coding, there are some significant information that you're going to use the same code, right? So as I saw it here, sense of confidence was um, assigned to two significant informations, right? So when you telling them, you just delete one of the nodes, right, and then count them. So in case you know this two means that the sense of confidence, there are two significant information that was this code was used to um, represent. So that's how you're going to. So you tell it all of them. You can see reach out to students in need. This is a code, and then it was assigned to 10 significant information in the data, and some were assigned to two contributing to help students in need. So that's how you're going to do it. So after you have telling them, this is where you also, the next step is to categorize them, develop categories and teams, right? Grouping them. How do you group them? You look into the relationship among the codes, right? And also the frequency, the relationship. Is there a kind of relationship between the codes that you can see that maybe one code comes under another code? You can bring another drop bring codes to another based on the relationship that is between the codes, and also sometimes based on the frequency. You can see here that reaching out to student in need is 10. This means that a lot of participants make reference to this code. So this means that you may consider making this code a category or a theme, right? Because a lot of people are making reference to they reaching out to other students. And also underlying concepts. So sometimes you can look at the codes and then see, okay, is there any kind of underlying abstract concept that can represent a group of codes? So you can look into the codes and see whether you can combine them and label them um, with a specific concept. And when you go to slide 8 of this PowerPoint, when you click on here, you'll be able to learn more about how to do the category and more information about these three approaches. Okay, so when you do that, what we'll do is, you can see here that destructive behavior in school and home represent these three main codes, right? So you can see that based on the underlying meaning, we can use this concept to represent these three codes. So that's what I used to combine them and generate categories. And based on the categories, you can also generate themes. And you can see here that this is the research question. So you have to make sure that the themes that you are generating or the categories you are generating are directly addressing your research question that you have, right? So you always make sure that they are addressing them. So that's how you're going to do it. And the last step is to visualize your nodes or codes, categories, and themes, right, that you have generated. There are many ways of visualizing it. One way is to use weddle.net, and what happens is that you can just copy and paste. Let me show you quickly. So let's say you have this is your transcript. You can copy all the information from your transcript and right click to copy, and then you can go to the website I'm talking about, the Weddle, and then click on create, and then you can paste it and then click on go, and you can see that it can give you visual representation of what participant we're talking about. You can see that we're talking about club. So the the bigger the font, the higher the frequency. So the frequency, the how many times they talk about it. So you can see that they were talking about now, thanks, school, happy, leaders. You can click on random to give if it is not what you want. You can double click it and it gives you a different display, and you choose what you want. So after choosing what you want, you can go to the start button here, and then you can type snipping 2, and then this will show, and you can just copy that using it to copy that, and then right click copy, and then you can paste it on your document for you to do a presentation on maybe your final product. So this is what I have for you. There's another option you can also use where CMap is a free software that you can use to, especially when you want to find out display the relationship between themes and also maybe categories. You can download for free this software, and you'll be able to create something like that to display your themes. And also you can use on a Word document, you can develop a table where you have all your themes and the frequency, how many times participant referred to this participant significant information were connected to the themes that you have, and also the meaning, and also the evidence is where you quote participant. So you can display this to help your audience to be just a quick reference for your audience, especially when you're doing a presentation or you are writing the results. So this is what I have for you. This is just one of the books that I wrote with my wife. You can get access to this for students in college. And then if you want to reach me, this is my information. So I'll do the second video doing a demonstration. So thank you for your time.